Hello everyone, it's Andrei, and today I'm going to show you how to start OpenY project from scratch when you are developer. So for that you need to have your host machine ready to go with the sort of Linux console. I'm using OSX from Apple, but it could be also Windows or any Linux. When it's a Windows, feel free to install cegwin.com, where you can find the installer that will help you to get Linux console emulator, which will give you all ability that I have on OS X. So for getting started, what we need is to run the command that described on YMCA Twin Cities OpenY project, right? So on this GitHub repository, there is a command. Here it is, command OpenY 2.0. So you can just copy this command and run it within your working directory. I'm using instead of my project, I am using OpenY dev demo. After some time, usually it takes probably 5 minutes, you'll see the end of command. So I'm pausing the video to get to the end point. So command succeeded, and now we have OpenY dev demo folder where there is a OpenY project extracted by composer command. And here you can see that we have vagrant file, which means that vagrant environment with VirtualBox already pre-installed for you to work with. For that you need to have a VirtualBox latest version and vagrant installed on your machine. I have that already installed, so let me proceed with vagrant up command. When the system booted, at the step of mounting network file shares, this is a server that helps us to synchronize data between virtual machine and host machine. At this step, you'll be asked, the system will ask you to provide your administrator password for your host machine. You need to allow the system to proceed. Right now it's mounting. So when it's mounted, it's ready to work. Next command is vagrant SSH. This command is helping you to log into the virtual machine through SSH connection. And it is also asking you a password. It's not always asking. It depends from the security system settings of your host machine. But by default, the password for the vagrant user is vagrant. And now you are in the system. Right now we are using Ubuntu. Ubuntu 18.04 long-term support. It's a Bionic codename system with PHP 7.2 with MySQL installed and Apache version 2.4. So now you are ready to proceed with installation of your OpenY. OpenY is located in var www here is a copy of the same file system that exists on your host machine. It's mounted by NFS server. And when you go to doc-root, it's var www doc-root, you'll find the Drupal with everything that exists in OpenY compiled by Composer into one code tree. And there are two ways to install the OpenY. You can install it through the browser. In that case, you'll have standard and extended options only. And you can install it through the console, which I'll be showing you in a minute, where you have access to custom version of OpenY. In this version, everything that exists in OpenY enabled. To get to that point, you need to use Drush to install the OpenY. But we made a good job and prepared for you a good mix of scripts that will help you to get OpenY installed just with one line. For that, you need to run reinstall.sh from the doc-root directory. It's a script. When you hit run, it will start preparing everything that needed, setting permissions, setting different settings, everything that is needed to succeed you with installation. And this task, which is installing Drupal, as you can see, it's basically a drush command, which is drush site install OpenY profile. Then there are some basic options set. It is already pre-configured to create Drupal database. You'll have user admin and password open9622 installed, and it will be installed to domain Drupal 129.168.56.123 xip.io in your virtual environment. So this step usually takes up to 15 minutes, depending from the performance of your host machine. So I'm pausing right now video while it's installing, and then I'll proceed with next steps. Okay, so after 32 minutes on my computer, OpenY finally installed. And now we can test it by typing Drupal 192, 168, 56, 132 xip.io, and this is our installed OpenY latest version, custom. Now you can go to login. You need to type credentials to get to admin interface. And let me show you a little bit of configuration that were used by the installation script to get you to this site. For that, there is in doc-root DevOps reinstall vars environments. There is in vars there is a global settings file which I'm showing you right now, and here you can see that Drupal user admin, Drupal pass open9622, then HTTP user, HTTP pass. This is only when you have shield module enabled. It's a basic house that script can set automatically for you. Here you can see that installation profile that was used for installing OpenY, user and password for MySQL server, database that was created, and some other configurations that you can read and change to get different settings for your site being installed through reinstall script. Another important part of this process is default and YAML file, which sits within environments folder. You can see here a couple of sections. First section is presettings. This section sets configurations variables into the settings PHP file, which is used by Drupal. So you can add here some needed for your integration or for your development lines that will be automatically applied by reinstall script every time when you do reinstall. Next session model. This is where reinstall script enables you some model that you need to have enabled, but you don't need them to be in your code repository. Right now, status false, which means that this step skipped. But if you need to enable devel shield, just set it to true and run reinstall, and it will do the job. Next is the drush commands. You can have here any commands you need. We are here setting some source settings, Google tag settings. We enable some models in specific order. We do reindex Solar, and after all we have post settings. This is similar to press settings, but this is added after everything is run, which is important when you, for example, need to enable memcache. And as you know, memcache can't be added in the beginning, otherwise Drupal install will fail. So these two files are really important files to be used by reinstall script. Now we will use these credentials to log into our site. After logged in, we can go to reports, status report, and look what we got here. And as you can see, it's the latest version of OpenY 2.2.2, Drupal 8.7, PHP 7.2, memory limit is 128 megabytes, and database 5.7 MySQL. So this is how you can get to the installation of Drupal, of OpenY, without touching browser at all when you are a developer. One more important thing that I'd like to mention is this tree that we obtained started where you, like in folder var vvv. This tree usually used for pushing, for initiating repository in Git to start your instance of OpenY, start development. So it's a good step here to type git init, then git add everything to repository, git commit, and push it to, for example, GitHub private repository for your customer to be able to track changes. So this is like initial steps that you need to go with to get to the point where you have your site installed with demo content enabled, where you have all modules enabled. You can go to OpenY extend install and install to enable or disable something that you don't need. This is a good step where you, for example, want to develop something for OpenY, then you can use this tree to do your changes and then to create patches, pull requests for OpenY. So this is basic starting point for any developer to start working with OpenY, no matter if it's a new site for the end user, for the customer, or if it's a code tree that you want to use to develop some changes or bug fixes for OpenY distribution. Thank you for listening. Let us know if you have any questions.